When people say, I wish I was like Apostle Paul or Peter, or I'm like John, or I'm like Jesus, and why do you and Harlan say you're the only ones that have a word from God today? You don't know what you're saying because you're in your natural mind. This is not something that you choose to do. It's something that God calls you to do. It costs you everything. It cost you your life. It's hard to do. We couldn't have done this if Jesus hadn't raised Harlan special, where Harlan didn't have anyone to depend on. He didn't have a mother that cared for him or a father or anybody. He was out in the woods by himself most of the time, and the Lord was leading him and guiding him by the Spirit. He learned how to depend on the living God through the Spirit so he could receive a word that no one else could receive. It's not about Harlan and I. If you think it's about Harlan and I, then you're in the flesh. If you thought it was about Moses, then you're in the flesh. If you thought it was about the Apostle Paul or Peter or any of the apostles, then you're in the flesh. It's about the living God, our Creator, the Father, who sent Jesus Christ, who gave his life for us, a sacrifice. And he gave it all. And we have to give up everything for him. Not that we can do it by ourselves, but Christ in us does it, and he gets all the credit. We suffer beyond belief. You have no idea what it has cost us. We lost everyone and everything. And you think this is easy. Well, God does deal with a lot of people, and he touches them in their hearts. But a word like this, when you go up against the God, the devil of this world, and all his billions of Bible worshiping, holy book worshiping, deceived hypocrites, it's not an easy thing to do. It's not something that you want to do. You're not going to be famous. You're not going to be glorified. In fact, you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and the Lord's even going to get onto you most of your life. It's not easy, and it's not something you want to do. So when we say that we have a word from God that nobody else has, it's not because we think we're something. Was Jesus the Son of God? Yes. Did they envy him and reject him? Yes. Did they get on to Paul, the followers of Paul, that he came and told the truth and they would tell him that he was wrong and not of God? They're in the flesh. When you think that we say this because we think we're greater than you, then you're in the flesh. We're not greater than anyone. Jesus and our Father are the only ones that are great. But when he chooses somebody and he uses somebody, then you stand up for the truth and you tell it, and you don't bow down and back down, and you don't cower away from it. If you think that you can do this, then you take this burden upon yourself and you try it and see if you can do it. You're not anointed to do it. And even if you are going to suffer. You're going to crack. You're going to cry. You're going to wish you didn't have this burden on you. You think we think we're something. We know we're nothing. The Lord keeps his foot on us. He doesn't let us be exalted in the flesh. Any of you that think different are in the flesh. You need to get out of the flesh and get in the spirit. We don't point you to follow us. We point you to follow the living Jesus Christ through the Spirit. And if you think otherwise, then you're deceived, and you deceive yourself, and you don't know what you're talking about. So just pray and ask the Lord to give you this burden so you can carry it. And then you might understand what I'm telling you, and you won't be so frivolous to think that you're like Apostle Paul or Jesus. You're nothing like them. You would crack if any little bitty thing touched your life. You can't bear it. We've seen it thousands of times, people that wanted to carry this truth. And the first thing that comes up, they fall away. And they just can't think it's God, because God wouldn't let bad things happen to them. Well, when you take up your cross, then you go to die. And Satan will attack you when you witness of the truth. And he will put everything on you. He knows your weaknesses. He knows your strength. And he knows how to fool you. He knows how to torment you. He knows how to deceive you. And you don't have a chance. Why? Because you're like us. You're nothing but a human being that needs your Creator to deliver you. And so when you say that, well, why does Harlan and Diana say that they're the only ones with the word from God to this generation. Why? Because we are. Jesus spoke those words to Harlan in 1970. The Bible is an idol. He wrote the foundation teachings in his heart before that. And he taught him, and I, because I was with him, he chose me to be with him. And we went through more than you can imagine. I mean, we have suffered. It cost us everything. We worked, and people fought against us all the way. We thought we were failures, and we are. But Jesus is not a failure, and he didn't let his word fall to the ground because his word is true. And there's no one can get this message out today unless Jesus Christ anoints them and opens a door. And it's not because we're anything, because we're nothing. And so are you. Get that through your head. You're messing up and you don't know what you're talking about. You're fighting against God, just like they fought against God through Moses and through Jesus and through all of God's saints and apostles and witnesses and prophets throughout the ages. And they would just try to defame you in any way they can when their mind should actually be on the message and not the messenger. You should be thinking about the living God through the Spirit and praying to him and trying to get your life right with him. This is not a game. We're not playing religion. This is the only real word of God on earth that makes any difference. And it can turn you from the power of Satan to the power of God so your eternal soul can be saved. And if you don't believe it, well, believe your stupid little frivolous fantasy and your vanity and just see where you end up, because you're not going to end up good. You don't know what you're talking about.
Drifting along, not knowing right from wrong, and the taste of hate was on my face. I was Satan's child, served him all the while. Then the love of God took his place. On a hill far away, heard him a-crying, heard a voice say, "It's for you he's dying, I'm in the fold. Walk on streets of gold, God put some love in the soul." I'm happy and free since Jesus came to me, and I know my name is on the roll. I'll see him someday, I'm walking in his way.